I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of March 10th, 2025. Councilmember Walker's birthday. Happy birthday. Members of the public are invited to attend in-person meetings in council chambers. Public access is also available by telephone by using the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda, and tonight's meeting will be broadcast on the city's YouTube channel online. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Leidy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Luke Manharamasa.
Here.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Jaramillo might be absent tonight. Councilmember Kondo.
Here.
Councilmember Roper.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Here.
Councilmember Walker.
Here.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager Guyer, are there any responses to resident inquiry?
Nothing this evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? No. Okay, next up, public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment on any item not set for public hearing. Statements are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements must be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. City Clerk Small, is there anyone signed up tonight?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there's one individual who signed up in advance, and that is Tom Lampo.
Welcome. Please state your name and address and provide your comments to council. Good evening.
Hey there. It's good to be back in front of you guys in North Glen as well. My name's Tom Lampo, 3951 Jackson Way. I'm here to lift up the community of North Glen in prayer, so please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, we invite you here to North Glen to be with us. You are the God and creator of the universe, and yet all you want is for each one of us to know you. In Jeremiah 24:7, it states, I will give them a heart to know me, that I am the Lord. They will be my people, and I will be their God, for they will return to me with all their heart. We need to return to you. We left you. We broke communion with you. You never turned from us. Forgive us for leaving you. Your love for us is immense. We are a prodigal people. Accept us back and teach us your ways. Thank you for letting us be here at this time. We're living in incredible times that are difficult, but you don't want us to be concerned or worried. You have everything under control. You are the Almighty God, the Prince of Peace. Your hand works for our good. Difficult times have been with us since we let sin into our lives. You have a purpose for each one of us. In Esther 4:14, your word states, For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. And who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. We might not have royal positions, but we all have a purpose. Show us our purpose for these times, and let us rely on you to guide us. Let us not squander the opportunities before us, and let us not shy away from the challenges. Glory and praise be to your name. You are our God, and we are your people. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. Thank you, guys. Have a nice night.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone in the audience who did not have a chance to sign up that would like to speak to council at this time? Are you sure? Okay. Is there anyone on the phone that would like to speak to council? You may press *6 to unmute at this time. Okay. Next up, we have a proclamation, so I would invite council to join me down front. Good evening. So we are doing a proclamation for Women's History Month, and while we did not have an official person designated to accept it, I'm gonna invite Joyce Downing to come on up. I know, come on. I saw her sneak in. Well, and Kathy Novak. Oh, sorry. I thought I saw her back there with you guys. I mean, all the wonderful women. This is for everyone, but I saw Joyce walking in. Come on up. So if you haven't already seen the Mayor's Monthly Minute that was recorded for the month of March, it does highlight some amazing leaders in our city, but specifically Joyce, because she spent 30 years serving on city council, and I was just so happy to see you when you walked in today. So you get to be the recipient of our proclamation. Are you ready? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Here we go. Whereas women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation and our community in countless ways. And whereas the 2025 Women's History Month theme, Moving Forward Together, Women Educating and Inspiring Generations, highlights the significant achievements and ongoing contributions of women in shaping our society and serving as inspiration for future generations. And whereas the City of North Glen has been shaped by the leadership, service, and dedication of many remarkable women, including past and present mayors, city council members, board and commission members, volunteers, city staff, business owners, educators, and community leaders. And whereas women in North Glen have played and continue to play a critical role in the economic, cultural, and social development of the city, bringing innovation, resilience, and a commitment to making North Glen a better place for all. And whereas the City of North Glen remains committed to advancing gender equity, supporting leadership opportunities for women, and ensuring a welcoming and inclusive environment for all residents. And whereas Women's History Month provides an opportunity to reflect on and celebrate the achievements, progress, and contributions of women in North Glen and beyond, inspiring future generations to continue striving for excellence and equality. Now, therefore, I, Meredith Leidy, Mayor of the City of North Glen, Colorado, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Women's History Month in the City of North Glen, and urge all residents to celebrate the achievements and contributions of women and actively support initiatives that promote equality and empower every generation of women in our community. Dated at North Glen, Colorado, this 10th day of March, 2025. There you go.
Take a picture and have everybody get as close to the,
Are you sure?
between the two flags as you can. There you go. You've never, have you done it? All right, 1, 2, 3. Everybody always blinks, so I have to take a lot. Thank you.
And we do have, like, really, I want to take a minute. If you are a woman and a little one as well, please stand, because everyone in here is giving back to our community in some way, whether it's a Good Neighbor Award or, yes, we have board members, former council members, our city manager, our city clerk. Come on. Thank you. Yes, yes. Well done. It all comes together. Okay. And now we would like our communications specialist, David Mullen, to come up and help us celebrate with those Good Neighbor Awards.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to allow me to introduce some outstanding community members who make our city a better place to live and are the latest recipients of the Good Neighbor Award, the first in this building and the first of the year as well. For those unfamiliar with this award, it recognizes residents who positively impact our community, whether they shovel a neighbor's driveway, assist with projects, pet sit, or simply just show kindness. It provides a way for residents, business owners, and council members to honor and thank these individuals. Tonight, we will celebrate 6 residents who were nominated for the award, although I believe only 2 people were able to make it tonight. First will be Deanna Lucero, who was nominated for making significant contributions to improve the quality of life of others. Her nominator, Paul, wrote that she removes snow from the street so neighbors can get up and down. She also clears sidewalks from the corner of Croak to the school so kids can get to school safely. She also helps the neighbors clear their sidewalks as well. It's really great and helps a lot. So thank you, Deanna, wherever you are. Next will be Eric Iverson, who was nominated for making significant contributions to improve the quality of life of others, has improved or positively affected the lives and living conditions of individuals in our community, and continues to go above and beyond to make a difference in the community. His nominator, Katie Ryan, wrote that Eric consistently seeks out small ways yet to impact the community. His let me restart that one. Eric consistently seeks out small yet impactful ways to impact the community. He is in the 2nd year of being a snowstormer and takes pride not only in helping our senior neighbors have safe access to the community, but also enjoys talking with these individuals and getting to know them. He takes not only time to shovel, but checks in on them as well. He also cares about supporting others in service to community. Recently, my sister and I signed up to be trail partners, inspired by his service to community. When my sister had ankle surgery and has not been able to participate in trash pickup, he has filled in to help us meet our obligation and keep our participation in trash pickup. He has filled in and helped us meet our obligation and keep the trail area clean. Lastly, he takes ownership for community safety, cleanliness in less formal trail areas as well. He picks up trash monthly on a trail near our neighborhood because he wants it to be clean and as accessible as possible. He has also, on some occasions, reached out to the city where he has seen potential safety hazards such as water main breaks, missing stop signs, lost animals, or other areas of need. Eric takes a lot of pride in the community of Northland and showcases it by taking care of the city. And Mr. Iverson is here tonight, so thank you. Our 3rd and 4th nominees are Sean and Nicole Wallace. They were both nominated for their contributions made to the community as well. Their nominator, Jeremy Dittmer, wrote that Sean and Nicole have been my neighbors since 2018. They have been amazing people since day one. It's not just the little things like helping shovel my sidewalk or moving my packages out of sight. They've also supported me personally as I deploy with the military often. They look after my house, water my plants, mow the lawn, and go way above and beyond their neighborly duty. More important to me, they've always watched my dog while I'm away. In all, they've almost watched him for over a year, with the longest consecutive stint being 6 months. They make sure my home and loved one is taken care of when I'm away. They are what I would define as an ideal neighbor. So thank you. Next, we have Mike Watkins, who's also in attendance. Like our other nominees, he has made a significant contribution to improve the quality of life in our community. His nominator, Melissa Davis Hood, wrote, "Our block won the lottery with having Mike as our neighbor. He will help anyone in need. He has shoveled our entire block when it snows more times than I can count. He has helped our neighbor fix their cars from anything from replacing an engine to carburetors to even a power steering pump. He has fixed bikes and scooters and several other things. He has held a block party, invited everyone not only on our block, but the surrounding area as well. He has grown vegetables in his garden and kindly offered them to the neighbors too. Mike is an all-around amazing person who is always available and willing to help with anything. We appreciate him more than he will ever know and are proud to call him our neighbor. Thank you, Mike, for being so generous with your time and help. You are so much more than a neighbor. You are our friend." So thank you, Mr. Watkins. And our last nominee of the evening is Billy Winkler, who has positively impacted the lives and living conditions in our city and continues to go above and beyond to make a difference and inspire others to give back. His nominator, Councilmember Kondo, wrote, "Billy has been active in the neighborhood for multiple years, picking up trash along the Greenway Trail near the 107th Avenue access pedestrian overpass. Prior to those improvements from CDOT, drainage from I-25, he was frequently observed picking up trash and helping his dad, Philip, and neighbors shovel mud on East 107th Avenue following major rains. For these reasons, I believe Billy deserves recognition. Thank you, Billy." And lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge 3 individuals who were also nominated for the award, but have also been awarded the Good Neighbor in the past. So a heartfelt thank you to Chris Semino, Jack Jaramillo Semino, and Adam Nunn for your continued dedication to making our community a better place. Thank you. And those good neighbors in attendance, if you wouldn't mind just coming up for a quick photo, please. Get in the middle, and then there's a sign there too. Yeah, do you want to pull up this? There's a good neighbor sign, so you can show off that you're a good neighbor. Oh, you can go. Ready? 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have our Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation Annual Update. Recreational Manager for Arts, Culture, and Community, and the NAHF Director, Michael Stricker, will present the update to Council. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mayor Leidy and City Council. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. If I could have the presentation up. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. Yes, indeed. So I am Michael Stricker. I'm the Arts, Culture, and Community Manager for the city. One of my main responsibilities is working as the Director of the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation. And we have several of our board members here tonight. So if I could, I just want to introduce them really quick. As you all know, Joyce Downing, who we just saw, board member Joyce Downing, Kirsten Tagestad. We also have Rosie Garner and Stephen George. And then we also have our Vice President, Jill Parsons, here as well. So thank you for coming. It is always a pleasure to get to present to you where the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation has been in the past year and where we are headed. We'll go to the next here. So the NAHF was established in 1990. It exists to ensure the access to the arts, for all. Its mission is to nurture, engage, and uplift our diverse community by providing performing and visual art experiences and opportunities for creative expression. It's a separately run 501c3 with 10 volunteer board members of various backgrounds and expertise. The board has 2 non-voting members, Councilmember Jaramillo and then myself as well. The NHF complete their own 990 each year, manage their own budgets, meet monthly throughout the year, fundraise, and volunteer for events. The NHF also hires an outside firm to provide a financial audit each year. The NHF Board of Directors' job is to provide funding, advocacy, and guidance for Northland arts programs, and to work on a very hands-on level with public art programs. They're a very dedicated board, putting in several hours a month beyond board meetings to ensure that the mission is being met. So Northland Arts is the marketing term or messaging umbrella for the many, many programs that the city, in partnership with the Northland Arts and Humanities Foundation, provide to the public. Northland Arts includes these 3 categories of programs. We have NYT, which was started in 1994. That's our flagship program. We have NYT Junior, and that was created just a few years ago to better meet the needs of our younger performers, ages 8 to 12. NYT Academy includes numerous specialized classes, camps, and workshops. Missoula Children's Theater is a great 1-week program that introduces kids to the theater process. Northland Arts Presents includes world-class touring shows as well as local collaborations. Studio performances began just this last year. They are small, audience development-focused performances held in the rehearsal room or in the community rooms. Special events include summer concerts, summer movies, mostly out on festival lawn. We have the Senior Center Films and Events, Teddy Bear Picnic, Daddy-Daughter Sweetheart Ball, and a few collaborations with Northland High School. We also have our public art programs, Art on Parade being the major one. We also have the permanent collection, large-scale commissions, the Sculpture Garden, which is over at Eleanor M. Wyatt Centennial Park. And then, of course, we have our indoor galleries. Northland Arts continues to work very closely with the events division on many levels, including equipment and information sharing, collaborations on special events, and for general planning purposes. The Parsons Theater is currently the largest facility of its kind in Adams County. It's 335 seats. Not only does it house all of Northland Arts programs, many of the ones that you see here, it also welcomes 30 or more local organizations that rent the theater. These rental groups present a wide range of missions, but are primarily dance, heritage, and school groups. Over 41,000 people attended a Northland Arts program in 2024, the vast majority of them attending an event at the Parsons Theater. The number also includes the summer concerts and movies held on festival lawn or in various parks. People of every age and background benefited as audience members and as active participants through Northland Arts' expanding scope of programs. The 38 rental organizations that use the theater also added to this number. 1,463 participants in Northland participated in Northland Youth Theater, NYT Junior, Missoula, NYT Academy, and other adult and youth cultural classes. The extremely popular and growing NYT Academy continued to provide rigorous and specialized theatrical training for youth. Last year, 858 youth participated in often sold-out NYT Academy programs, which include skill and age-based performing arts classes, and much more. Demand continues to grow, so we will certainly surpass this number in 2025. Many of the NYT Academy classes and camps end in what's called a share-formance, and nearly 800 folks attended those. The NHF contributed over $331,000 to Northland Arts programs in 2024. Every dollar raised goes directly to Northland Arts programs. It does not get distributed elsewhere. The NHF did this through grants, donations, fundraising, and investment income. NAHF received, here's just a few, a Tour West grant for $4,000 that helps fund touring shows, a $4,000 T-Mobile sponsorship for Northland Arts Presents, $2,400 in individual donations for general operating support, $4,700 in business and individual donations to close out the City Hall public art project, over $12,000 in investment income, And then the most significant grant received was from the SCFD for $163,500. So the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District, or SCFD, grants over $60 million to arts and science organizations in the Denver metro region every year. So think everything from the Denver Zoo to the Denver Center for the Performing Arts, Cleo Parker Robinson Dance, to the NAHF. The Colorado Business Committee for the Arts was here last year at the old building to present to City Council and reported that the $64 million distributed by the SCFD in 2022 created $2.6 billion in economic activity. This includes job creation, attendance, school outreach, hitting a restaurant before the show, and various other activity. Northglenn Arts is a part of that impact. We bring hundreds and sometimes thousands of people each week to the city through our programs, creating a quality of life, but most crucially, economic impact to our community. The $163,500 in SCFD funds awarded to the NHF constitutes one of the highest awards in all of Adams County. We're very proud of that. And now for some theater program highlights. Northglenn Youth Theater turned 30 last year. It's hard to believe. This includes 6 fully designed and realized productions with professional designers and builders helping create a large-scale theatrical experience for youth. 191 youth performed, 88 youth provided tech support, with 33 public performances to an audience of over 7,800 people. Northglenn has been hosting Missoula Children's Theater since 1988. They returned once again for a residency in 2024, with 58 youth performing to 2 public performances to an audience of 387 attendees. 2024 also included special events like the Daddy-Daughter Sweetheart Ball and others. We launched our studio performances, as I mentioned. They're small, intimate performances in either rehearsal rooms or at the rehearsal room or the community rooms, where the goal is to develop new audiences, whether it be an up-and-coming singer-songwriter, hip-hop, a jazz trio, or contemporary dance performance. The goal is to provide unique experiences for diverse audiences and support diverse artists. Some collaborations to note, we partnered with the Northglenn Senior Organization on the NYT Dinner Theater, 3 travel films, a PBS 12 Ken Burns premiere, and helped bring Colorado Chord Company Acapella Group to the Veterans Day celebration. We also partnered with Northglenn High School on a poetry performance night. Also welcomed Northglenn High School and Northglenn Middle School students to the Art on Parade Selection Committee. We also partnered with the Colorado Symphony on their Canta y Baila Conmigo program. The bilingual interactive children's story program promotes music education and played to 368 elementary school students for just 2 performances. 2024 also saw the expansion of Northglenn Arts Presents. Northglenn Arts Presents opened with what has become a tradition, local favorite Face Vocal Band, and also featured productions by local partners, Cleo Parker Robinson Dance, Colorado Jazz Repertory Orchestra, Cantorai, Boulder Philharmonic for the first time, and the Disability Affirmative Family Theater Company. National tours included Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Bluegrass Band, Making Cake with Dasha Kelly, Hamilton, Trekking Mexico, Sugar Skull, a Dia de los Muertos musical adventure, 512, The Selena Experience, Motones and Jerseys, The Second City from Chicago, and one international tour production coming all the way from Ireland for the Irish Christmas in America. Most notably, we presented Heart of Afghanistan. The musicians are Afghan immigrants that play traditional music that has been banned in their home country. We worked with local nonprofit Project Worthmore to bring 100 Afghan refugees to the show. For many, it was the first time that they had heard their traditional music in decades. Over 6,100 attended one of the Northglenn Arts Presents shows in 2024. That's a 30% increase from 2023. So now moving outside, celebrating its 35th anniversary, the summer concert series included 6 bands with approximately 1,400 in attendance. The concerts included the continued added amenities of a beer garden and food trucks. The summer movie series was back for its 11th year and was partnered with the Neighborhood Nights, as you well know. They played to approximately 700 attendees. Residents select what is shown every summer through an online vote in January. The Teddy Bear Picnic celebrated its 32nd anniversary with 250 little ones and their favorite stuffed animals being entertained by the Animal Farm Band. And then on to public art. The NHF first venture into public art was in 2000 with the creation of the Art on Parade. Art on Parade is the annual Sculpture on Loan program that is driven by resident and park visitor selection. Submissions come in from around the country. A large volunteer committee selects 6 finalists to go in E.B. Raines Junior Memorial Park, and then Northglenn residents and park visitors vote on those final 6 to select the People's Choice winner. It is a unique program in the Denver metro area. The NHF then purchases the winning sculpture, installs it, and then gifts it to the city for its permanent collection. Last year, for the first time, we had a tie for the People's Choice, and thankfully it fit within the budget, so we're going to go ahead and buy both. With Wings Like Eagles is by Springfield, Colorado artist and cowboy poet, by the way, Bill Bunting. The other sculpture is Who, What, Where, and When, and was created by Northglenn resident Joseph Cole. It's the very first sculpture we've ever purchased from a Northglenn resident. I'll be back in a few months with the NHF with a recommendation for those possible permanent locations. In addition to Art on Parade, large-scale commissions have also been added to the collection, like the Veterans Memorial, RTD Light Rail Station, and others. NHF completed the large-scale City Hall public art project, Flowing Together, in 2024. Seems like a lot longer than that, but it's just last October. The unique hanging atrium sculpture is already a community favorite. We hear about it all the time. It was a true joy getting to celebrate with all of you back in October at the new City Hall opening. We're also nearing completion of the new Wayfinding Walkability and Vinyl Wraps project. It's been a wonderful collaboration between the NHF, Public Works, Parks Department, and others. Artist Julia Williams has been amazing to work with. Her installers continue to install wraps every week, and we should be done by the end of the month. And I did want to note that the entire public art collection is listed on Artwork Archive. It's an online platform that the NAHF pays for that provides an interactive public portfolio. The archive can be accessed through the northglenarts.org website or through the city website. So just a few additional highlights are with the Lucille Roybal Rivera. Well, we'll get it go here in a second. There we go. The Lucille Roybal Rivera Gallery. In October, we celebrated the life of Lucille by renaming the Parsons Theater Gallery to the Lucille Roybal Rivera Gallery. The Chicano Humanities and Arts Council was there along with family, friends, and Northglenn staff and city council. It was an awesome dedication for an amazing woman. She is greatly missed to this day. We also displayed Lucille's photography to close out the year. The first 3 quarters of the year were a mix of both chalk exhibits and Access Gallery. Access Gallery is an inclusive nonprofit organization that engages the community by opening doors to creative, educational, and economic opportunities for artists with disabilities. We will partner with both Chalk and Access Gallery again in 2025. And so then 2024 also marked a big first for the NAHF. We invested in our first endowment. Thanks to City Council guidance and approval, the NAHF was the recipient of a portion of the Denver Broncos sales funds. Those funds were used for the NAHF to launch the Northglenn Youth Theater Scholarship Endowment. So instead of spending the funds on programs down to zero, we instead invested the money to grow and ensure that youth for generations have the ability to participate in NYT and its many programs, regardless of economic ability. And the frosting on the cake is that the NHF was accepted into the Rose Community Foundation. This prestigious organization not only holds the investment, growing the funds, along with other organizations like the Girl Scouts of Colorado, Denver Public Schools Foundation, and over 100 others, but also provides extensive training for the management of the endowment funds and guidance for fundraising. To celebrate the 30th anniversary of NYT and the launch of the endowment, NAHF held its first ever gala in November. The mayor opened the event, and others of you attended and enjoyed the evening's entertainment as well as food, drinks, and more. We raised over $34,000 that night, bringing the endowment to over $80,000. It was a big moment for the NAHF and for the future youth that need a little economic assistance to participate in our programs. The last highlight on the slide here is the total earned revenue brought in through Northglenn Arts programming. $516,000 includes ticket sales, registrations, concession sales, and theater rental income. That's a 21% increase from 2023. So this is how the financial relationship works between the NHF and the city. Northglenn Arts revenues are divided between contributed and earned income. Generally speaking, the contributed income, grants and donations flow through the foundation, and the earned revenue goes directly to the city. So as an example, during an NYT production, all SCFD grant funds and donations go through the NAHF to pay for the show, and then all of the ticket sales and participant registrations generated by the show go to the city. As you can see, the per capita funds are what kicks this off. Once per capita funds are released by the City Council to the NHF, it is then applied, the NHF then applies for SCFD grants that generate donations and other grants to then pay for the programs that generate the earned revenue for the city. The NHF also generates revenue through outdoor concessions and merchandise sales, as well as some investment income. As you can see on the city side, all theater rental income goes to the city as well. And so this is how we then spend the money. The NHF mostly covers production costs, so sets, costumes, the rights for shows, which are very expensive. The NHF also covers the majority of theater contractors used throughout the year, like designers, technicians, and builders. And then the NHF also covers all public art purchases and the majority of public art maintenance costs. The city pays for the salaried employees that make all of this happen. The city also pays for all of the facility and equipment costs, ticketing and registration, custodial services, many of our presenting partners, and class instructors. And as you can see, there are a few shared costs as well, but this is the basic structure. So going forward, the NHF believes that partnerships, such as the one that exists with the City of Northglenn, are a valued community asset. The NHF has embraced the struggles caused by the pandemic, social unrest, and political upheaval that the community and nation have faced. That, combined with the opening of the new theater, has been a catalyst to reimagine what the future might hold. The NAHF contracted Stillwell Consulting of Fort Collins in 2023 to create a long-range master plan. The plan works in tandem and complements the Parks, Recreation, and Culture Playbook. So in other words, the new Northglenn Arts long-range plan is both a standalone document for the NAHF and an addendum of the playbook. As I introduced to all of you last year, the extensive document highlights a refreshed mission, vision, and values, outlines 5 major goals, and has over 110 action items. So 2024 represented the first year of that plan. Everything I've reported on tonight is aligned with the plan. Just a few additional highlights. We created marketing materials in Spanish, providing open captioning at all NYT shows, adding wayfinding signage around the theater, adding net promoter scores to audience surveys, increased partnerships with schools, organizations, and committees to diversify programming offerings, the Art on Parade Committee, and more, added donations to the ticketing process, reworked the website for donations, and created better messaging and branding around fundraising. The NHF did a lot of work last year, and we're continuing to do it, looking at board structure, recruitment, and establishing the board development and board management committees. Edited several NAHF documents like the bylaws, conflict of interest, and non-discrimination policies, board responsibilities, added new term limits, and much more. So 2025 will see continued work similarly to this, including additional to things that are outlined in the long-range plan. So I know it's a lot of information. Thank you very much for allowing me to present. The release of the per capita funds is on the consent agenda this evening, but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Michael, and the NAHF team. I was at the foundation 30th annual celebration, and I think my realization, and I mentioned this in a prior meeting, is it's not the buildings, it's the people and the programs that really make it special. So I just wanted to recognize that first and foremost, and then also congratulate you on being part of that Rose foundation group. I think that'll go a long ways for establishing a sustainable funding stream so that we can help disadvantaged kids. I do have one question. You said Missoula Children's Theater, I'm assuming it's Missoula, Montana. They actually come all the way down here.
They do, yeah.
Are they spending a week or a couple weeks?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, the residency is a week long, so they actually travel all around the country, but we started bringing them down in 1988. For many decades, it was for 2 residencies a year. Now we do 1, but it's an introductory program, so it goes from like Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday, depending on the schedule, and it looks a lot like a camp, but it's a great introduction to it. And Missoula just has sort of the perfect structure, so that's why we continue to work with them.
Gotcha, thank you. Where do we house these people when they come down? Do they stay at the Delta, or how does that?
They do it. They stay at a local hotel that gives us the best rate.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I'm an RVer, and I did one trip to Missoula, Montana, and I'm like, wow, that's a long haul.
Yeah,
But
indeed.
I'm glad that they're down here, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Roper?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have any questions, but thank you for this. Thank you for all that you do and that you guys do, not only through public art, but just bringing the arts to our community, to our students, to our children. I like how you said, reimagine what the future might hold, and I know my council mates are probably tired of me talking about the teddy bear picnic, but that is something that my children loved to attend when they were little. My daughter danced in classes here, and now I'm getting ready to send her off into the future, off to her career and start her professional career, and so I think our future is looking pretty bright. So thank you very much for all that you do and all that you pour into our community.
Thank you.
Councilmember Goff?
Mayor, yes, thank you. I just wanted to basically just say thank you. Great work. I don't have time to attend all the events and programs and plays and things that you talked about. And everyone I do is wonderful. And the new theater is amazing. So I'm not surprised that we're getting more people to come and see what we are doing here in North Carolina.
Thank you.
I look forward to this presentation every year. It's, I think it's great for our community to see, but also for council and staff to be reminded of everything that you do, all the different layers, all the different genres of art, like the whole thing is just beautiful, and it does enrich our community, and we know how hard you all work. So thank you for joining us tonight as well, to the board, and thank you for your work. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, moving into council communications. We will start with Councilmember Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, I'm reporting out on Ledge Committee, so everyone just buckle up. Senator Winter joined us today at our meeting virtually, where she asked about what priorities we have as a city, how we can work together on the back half of the session. She discussed her 2 main transportation bills and welcomed our feedback, so we do have an amend position on her bills that we will be providing feedback on. We also discussed the JBC, or the Joint Budget Committee. There's been a lot of talk about the budget this year and its giant shortfall. So cuts are coming across the board. The JBC will probably finish, they say probably like maybe around Thursday, and we'll learn about all the different cuts in the next week or so. So speaking of that, we have discussed with City Manager Geyer about having someone from the county come and Adams 12 regarding how Medicaid cuts, school K through 12 cuts, are going to impact our residents directly and what we need to prepare for coming down the pike. Okay, so I hope everyone's ready. I'm going to list all of our stances on bills. So SB1, which is the voter rights bill, we're taking an amend position following CML based on our home rule charter. HB 1060, we are opposing, and there's a lot of fence bills about fences, and this is an electric fence bill that we are opposing. HB 1272, the construction defect bill, we are supporting. HB 1276, we are supporting. These are the municipal court bills and public safety. HB 1262, we are asking for an amend position. And the YIGB bill, so for everyone who needs a refresher, that is Yes in God's Backyard. Still a lot of discussion happening around that topic in that bill, and so we are sticking with an amend position. But wait, folks, I have more because I also had Youth Commission. So Youth Commission, they are delightful as ever. They are very excited to be attending the Breakfast Under the Dome. Oh yeah, so we have Breakfast Under the Dome next Friday, so if you haven't RSVP'd, please do so to McCall and by Wednesday. Our Youth Commission will also be attending, so it's very exciting for them. They talked a lot about like legacy planning. We have 4 seniors who are graduating, so we're looking to fill seats. So youth, anyone in high school who wants to join the North Glen Youth Committee, reach out, hit a girl up. It's so much fun. It's great. And they also talked about more of their initiatives around their poster contest that they host every year and their initiatives. Also, shout out to Suyas, who is part of the youth federal, like the state pledge committee, pushing for Narcan and having that available at schools for overdoses. So that's great. Thank you to everyone who came and spoke. Thank you to our good neighbors. Thank you to everyone who will speak. I think it's really important to care loudly about our community. So please continue to email, write us, reach out, show up. Thank you to the mayor, my fellow council members, for wearing white for our Women's History Month proclamation. It's really important to me to celebrate diverse minorities, women, people of color, LGBTQIA, our refugee community. As we're currently witnessing a lot of removal or trying to remove history, and I think it's really important for us to understand that you can't legislate people away, that we will always be here and North Glen celebrates people. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to the birthday boy.
Thank you for your kind words. I just want to say thank you to Tom Lampo and his kind words, and thank you to all our Good Neighbor Award recipients too.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to all the award recipients. Thank you for making North Glen a better place. I hope everyone is doing well. I'll share a couple updates from Ward 2. We had a Ward 2 meeting, so thank you to Chief, DC, Director Wilson, City Manager Geyer for being present, and the rest of the staff who helped out as well. It's always great to have them there to answer residents' question, and thank you to all the residents that came out and came with your questions, your concerns, your complaints. We appreciate it all. Some of the things that were raised, concerns about the pet ordinance. I believe I shared with all of you a resident's letter that I received, and then there were some questions about kind of gas stations, locations of gas stations near residents, so that's something I'm kind of looking into. I may approach you at some point about that. I believe that is everything for me, so please, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve Ward 2.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a few things. I'll try to be quick. On February 25th, the DICE board had our meeting and we're beginning initial planning, thinking about the Pride Festival, and also that we are going to be working with the North Glen Arts and Humanities, well, North Glen Arts, I guess I should say, on a program for Juneteenth. So we're excited about that, and just kind of hashing out some other projects for this year, including the Safe Business Project that we'll be working with our police department on. And then one of the most exciting things that we had Director Peterson from the Parks and Recreation to come and talk to us about the city receiving a grant that will help us move towards getting the Odell Berry Park built, and that is a $1,250,000 grant from the Land Water Conservation Fund. And last year, only 4 grants were awarded in Colorado, and North Glen was one of them. Do I have that right? So the Dice Board was very excited to hear about that. Let's see, and then on June, boy, I wish it was the summer weather, but February 28th, I went to a ribbon cutting at the Kids Emporium, which is in the North Glen Marketplace. Yeah, you forgot to mention it. Had several council members there. We raced each other down the slides. It was a lot of fun. And I will say that I'm planning on, I already talked to my daughter-in-law, and we're planning on bringing the grandkids. So if you know anybody in that age group, that's a great place to go. And let's see, the next thing was on March 6th. I almost testified against House Bill 1096, which I'm surprised you didn't hear, maybe didn't know about, but that was a program that, or a bill that the state was trying to pass to accelerate rooftop solar permitting, which again would step on home rule power, I guess I would say. And one of the reasons that this is for CC4CA, which is Colorado Communities for Climate Action, and one of the reasons that they came out against it is that's really not where the bottleneck is on getting permits through. It's really more finger pointing. If you're going to do it, it would be at the utility companies. So we want to put more pressure on them instead of stepping on home rule. Let's see. And then I did attend a that day was really busy. I also, that same day, a CC4CA webinar which was on Adams County as introducing a new program. They had money from a grant to increase the green workforce in Adams County with training programs and networking opportunities and like a kind of concierge services to get people hooked up with where they need to go to help, well, I guess mostly with heat pump systems, but other green energy as well. And I did hear a lot of praise for our very own Mara Owen, who helped organize some of this and help them to obtain the grant. So that was, I just wanted to give her a big thank you if she's listening. And then later on that day, Senator Hickenlooper hosted a town hall to address federal funding freezes. I'm not sure he exactly addressed what he's going to do about it, but we did hear about some of the effects of if this continues on Medicaid, a lot of programs that we have going on in Adams County. So it was informational, if not exactly inspirational. And then both March 7th and 8th, I was involved in interviews to fill the openings for our DICE board, and I'm happy to report that we'll have 3 new members at our next meeting, which is the 4th Tuesday of this month, but starting in April, it will be the 1st Tuesday of every month. So we're changing the date so that it makes it easier for some of our members to participate in person. And then last but not least, and I'll leave some of this for my partner in Ward 3, Councilmember Kondo, is that we had our Ward 3 meeting this last Saturday across the hall. It was one of the largest turnouts we've had, lots of really good questions, and I honestly think that some of the the energy and excitement was just to be in this building because it's such a wonderful building. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, happy birthday, Nick. Just thought I'd say that in public. And thank you for the treats from Miss Katie. First of all, North Metro Fire has been in the process of selecting a new fire chief. And we are now down to 2 subfinalists. We actually have Chief May, who participated in that process of separating the wheat from the chaff. And there will be a public engagement opportunity for anybody that resides in North Metro, which is everybody here in North Glen, to meet the 2 subfinalist candidates this coming Wednesday. I need more coffee. From 5 to 7 at North Metro Fire's headquarters, which is off of First and Lamar and Broomfield. So hopefully we'll see you there. You can size up and get a sense of who our 2 final candidates are. As Dr. Goff mentioned, we did have our Ward 3 meeting on Saturday. It was. I would like to thank staff, first of all, Chief DC, Director Borgers, Heather Guy, our city manager, and McCall. our very, well, not ours, but Heather's brand-new executive assistant. And I will just comment that I think eyeballing at 35 to 40 people, demographically, a very diverse age group, which was very refreshing. And so really enjoyed those conversations. A couple of weeks ago, actually did a tour of Thunder Vista, which is the P8 school that Councilmember Roper is the principal of. And I found it to be very refreshing, a building that was completed in 2018. It's the westernmost building in Adams District 12. And the one thing that I think I finally walked away with was just some of the new technologies and innovations that are going on there. And I probably underappreciated that when the Mayor Pro Tem and I were in the Blueprint program, where we were just trying to figure out exactly, where does the district need to spend money? But to see everything that you had in your test bed platform, for example, microphones with speakers in the ceiling so that, the teacher could turn on the microphone so students can hear. I have somewhat of a hearing problem with tinnitus. And so when I saw that going on in the classroom, I had a double take. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, voice from God? And then she said, no, we have the microphone and the speaker system. And I thought, wow, that is really nice. And so thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I don't have kids, so I figured it's important for myself to put myself in the shoes of parents with children in our education system so that we can really understand what the needs are. So thank you for allowing me to visit. AC Rep Development Council had their meeting earlier last week, and the theme was sustainable work opportunities at Denver/aviation industries. Very useful meeting. Ran into a few people, and I will be connecting some of the members of the days here with the folks that I met there at that networking opportunity. And then, as all of you know, I'm kind of the social butterfly for North Glen. So I was at the Ralston Gala and got to meet a number of people who were on the board or are staff members there, and it was a wonderful event at 240 Union. The Mayor Pro Tem, of course, is on the board. The mayor was there. And I just thought it was a wonderful opportunity to raise money for a very important organization that takes care of children that were sexually abused. I think the one thing that was shocking for me was that their CEO talked about a story of a 75-year-old young individual that had undergone some, I guess you'd call it senior abuse. And Ralston House even took care of that gentleman. So I just thought to myself, some of the things and the evils and wrongs that go on in the world are not bounded by age. And so organizations like the Ralston House and other initiatives that we're working on, for example, the Family Justice Center, these are so very important initiatives. And I'm glad that we as a city are host of one of the two Ralston House facilities here. So thank you very much for that. Lastly, I'd like to ask for council support for two initiatives. The first one has to do with, I think we had this conversation about what are considered nuisance plants. So I'd like to ask staff to look into that particular list because I believe it has not been updated for a decade or so, and in particular related to sumac plants, which we've heard complain. Yeah, I'm getting some north-south nods out there, so okay, very good. And the second, a follow-on to the February declaration of Heart Month. I understand that the city had a biometric screening for its employees, which is wonderful. I often wonder if we should have that opportunity extended to us here, because obviously we undergo a lot of stress in our lives and what we do here. And so I'd like to ask staff to look into that as well. So request support for number one.
Can you say more about that?
Which one, the biometric? That one is the cardiac screening. So, calcium scoring, that sort of stuff to determine whether we're gonna kick the bucket.
Okay.
Can I add a little context?
That'd be great.
Important clarification. It's not cardiac screening as what's been explained in terms of what our police officers undergo. The biometric screening is an annual screening that we provide through our wellness program tied to our health insurance. And so it would be cholesterol, screening, those types of things, but not cardiac. You get your blood pressure taken, but it's your basic biometric screening, not the advanced that we provide to our sworn police officers.
So I stand corrected.
Well, and if
But-
it goes through the health insurance, I think we have to go through our own health insurance for that.
Okay, so Madam Mayor, you're a no.
Well, just based on the,
We would need to, excuse me, Mayor, we would need to pay an additional amount. If council wants to be able to participate in the biometric screening, it would be a cost for the council members who would want to participate that we could pay. The screening is provided to us through our health insurance provider, Kaiser, and so it's, that's why we do it as part of our wellness program. And because council members don't participate in the health insurance program unless you sign up, that would be a different consideration. But to my knowledge, I don't think there are any existing current council members that participate in the health insurance program.
And if the city has to pay for a council member, it could be seen, and I'd have to look, as an increase in your compensation, which is not permitted.
I retract my request for number 2 then.
okay. Okay. And then the first one? Yeah? Okay, great. Good, okay. Councilmember Roper?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you all for being here tonight. We have our Parks and Rec meeting this week, as well as Historic Preservation this week, so that'll be upcoming. It's good to hear about the governor's budget getting shored up this week. I know, just being in the Adams 12 world, that we are waiting on the governor's budget before we can proceed with our budgets, and just knowing really that it is going to take a hit on our budgets, upwards of maybe $3 million, and that is going to directly impact our North Glen students. There's no way around that. And so, again, you still have some time. Reach out to the governor, reach out to your representatives. They need to hear from you because this impacts us. Again, thank you to everyone who came out and supported for the Women's History Month. It made me think of my great-grandmother was they homesteaded in Beulah, and so thinking about way back then, they built a rock house. One of her main, if you've ever been to Beulah, it is not flush with greenery, so one of her main jobs was to go out and tend after the cattle, and they would pick up the cow pies and they would burn those for fuel because they didn't have trees or anything wood. And so just thinking about, you know, how much she overcame, you know, even, you know, there was a time where women couldn't have checking accounts, or women could not run for public office. So thinking about her and her rock house, and thinking about where we are now, that I think she must be pretty proud of that. And so all these thoughts were going through my mind this past few days. Then thinking about 10 years ago, and of course my daughter's graduating this year, so I'm full on in my emotional moments. Thinking about 10 years ago, her and I went on a mommy-daughter date to the state capitol, and she attended the studio school, and I think her teachers, they had just been talking about equal pay, and so she was in full legislative mode. She was talking to anyone who would listen to her, and she's like, we need equal pay for women. And so, again, thinking about sending her off into the world, now 10 years later, at a different world, in some ways very positive, in some ways we have some work to do. I'm proud of the work that we've done as women, and I'm proud of the women who represent our city and have inspired us to continue to make North Glen a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a lot coming up in the next 2 weeks, so I'll be very brief. I don't have a lot to report out because thankfully Councilmember Burns had the brunt of legislative committee. Thank you so much for doing that. As was said, thank you so much for everyone that is here supporting us, and to all the wonderful women that we are blessed to be surrounded by. I will report out on 2 quick things that were already touched on. So I attended the Kids Empire ribbon cutting, and yes, I also plan to take my grandkids, ages 3 and 5. I couldn't go on all the slides and the fun things because of my back still, but it was absolutely such a beautiful place for kids. And then the Ralston House fundraiser, as was mentioned, I'm on the board of directors, and it is truly one of the most rewarding things I do outside of council. Really great event, a lot of money. I just heard that surpassed our goal, our fundraising goal, which I think was around $200,000, which goes to such a wonderful cause. So thank you to all the council members and the mayor that were there. Such a wonderful event. And that is actually all I will report out on. Thanks, Councilmember Kondo, for having our heart health in your best wishes. And that is all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Very, very touching words by Councilmember Roper. I appreciate all of that. And I wrote down "care loudly" by Councilmember Burns. I think that's a phrase I may steal because we should care loudly.
It is a quote from Parks and Recreation
Oh, well, that
by
makes it,
Leslie Knope.
that makes it even better. That's fantastic. That actually brought me joy. Okay.
Thank you.
So it's still very important. We should all care loudly. A couple of things. I was down at the Capitol for Diversity Rights Advocacy Day, and that's very important. There were over 600 people down there for that important day. We need to continue to elevate diversity and disability as well, disability rights. The Kids Empire was great, a lot of fun going down the slides. There's got to be pictures out there somewhere of me racing Councilmember Nowicki on these little motorized vehicles. It was very fun. It was nice to try everything out, new business. I just recommend that people go check it out. If you have small kids, they do let the big kids play too, but you should probably take some small kids with you. But it was a good time. A couple of things coming up for me. I will be down at the to testify on HB 25-1272, the construction, litigation, and middle housing bill. So I'm excited to support that one for sure. On the 15th, we will be doing a mayor's coffee at the Carl's Farm Senior Apartments. So new format, not a lot of presentation. I want to hear more from residents than you hear from us. And so please join me at 9 a.m. if you'd like to, share some thoughts with me in more of a casual setting. On the 22nd, you should come out to the North Glen Arts and Humanities Foundation, or the North Glen Arts presentation of, let me get the title right, it's very cute. You probably have seen the slides, and I keep losing it. It's a spelling bee, but I want to make sure I get the title right. Something 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. I think it's a comedy. I'm looking at the friends in the audience. Yes, it's a comedy. And I get to be a guest speller, a celebrity guest speller. So I'm very excited. The show's at 7:30 on the 22nd. So if you need some tickets, come see me. Likely embarrass myself a little bit for some laughter, I'm sure. And in line with the Parsons Theater and all of the amazing work that we heard about tonight, I made a bold choice to bring 250 students to the theater last week or 2 weeks ago. And it was such a lovely experience, first of all, because it was a Cleo Parker Robinson student showcase. It was absolutely beautiful. But then our city hosted everyone in this room. So it was a pleasure for me to introduce this part of my life with all of my students at my school, but also teach them a little bit about municipal government. We are an art school, so we focused on the Flowing Together piece by Jody Bliss, and the students got to learn all about that. And then we went over to the park. So they had a full North Glen experience, but it was all hosted so well by our staff, by our theater team, by our police department. Shout out to them for helping us cross the street. And it was just really lovely, and they learned so much, but really the focus was on appreciating the arts in this community. And so between the dance and the artwork, it was lovely. We also went to Lucille's gallery as well. It It was just a lovely overall day, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who helped out. And I think that is all I have. So, City Clerk Small.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no updates tonight.
Okay, we'll go back. Councilmember Kondo.
I think the Honorable Bowen is here with us. I wanted to just acknowledge his presence.
Yes, there's a reason. It's okay. Thank you, though. City Manager Guyer.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. A couple quick updates. The first, progress continues on a temporary location for the Family Justice Center. We had a steering committee meeting this morning, and the Facility and Location Committee took a step back and reevaluated possible current county facilities as an option versus leasing a new space, given the costs of the market are so high right now. And so more information will be shared within the next month, 2 months, about the progress being made. We're not in a position to share anything publicly, but progress continues, and it's an exciting time. My second item is I'd like to introduce McCall Raftis, who is our new executive assistant to the city manager, but she supports all of us. So Councilmember Kondo, it's okay if you don't have to specify that she works for me. She supports all of us, and council is a big part of her role. So I'll let McCall share a few words about who she is.
Hi, thank you. Yes, so I am a proud North Glen resident. I moved here recently last summer, and I previously worked over at the theater, North Glen Arts, and I'm really eager to work with each and every one of you, so thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I do not have anything to share tonight.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Yes, congratulations. All right, okay, we have a public hearing tonight, CB 2026, limiting the number of household pets. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Will the clerk please read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending Article 1 of Chapter 14 of the North Glen Municipal Code to limit the number of household pets in a residential dwelling unit.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 2026. Is there anyone who would like to speak either for or against CB 2026? Please state your name and address for the record and provide your comments.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Robinson off of Downing Drive, Ward 2. I'm here tonight to oppose the pet limit ordinance and ask that City Council not pass it. And if you do pass it, then I formally request that you guys amend the limit from an arbitrary number to wording that focuses more on the well-being of an animal, such as a phrase such as there shall be no legal limit on the number of cats or dogs per household, so long as they are properly cared for. I think this is where a lot of other cities failed, because that should be at the heart of any issue with this. But if you refuse to do that, then I formally request that City Council increase the pet limit from 4 to 6 per household. And I've already highlighted some of these consequences of having a pet limit in our city to a few of the council members. I touched on pet abandonment, underground pet ownership, negative mental health, and the fact that it will exclude dozens of households from feeling safe and welcome within our community. And I also pointed out numerous court cases on a federal level that have ruled pet limit laws as naive, restrictive, arbitrary, unjust, and unconstitutional. Also, if one person's complaint that brought this whole thing forward, I think that my voice should count too. And I don't believe there's any evidence that the council can provide to prove that we need this ordinance. There is no evidence to prove that there will be an improvement within our city. The catalyst complaint for this entire thing should have been dealt with through laws already established. If there are no If there is no data to suggest that other cities are doing better than North Glen for having a pet limit law, then you, City Council, should ask yourselves, are we acting in the best interests of citizens of North Glen, or is this just one of those peer pressure situations? Oh, if other cities have it, that seems like an arbitrary reason without any merit to back it up. Seriously, show me the data from other cities to show me that this is working better for them than North Glen without having the limit. You can't. In fact, citizens from other cities are discreetly flying under the radar with that extra dog or that extra cat, or maybe 2 or 3 extra. Those cities, though, have instilled fear and caused responsible pet owners this unnecessary sense of unease and apprehension. And that is all that this ordinance will do for North Glen. Respectfully, City Council members, it is your responsibility to do better than implement something just because neighboring county has, or just because you're feeling pressure from Adams County. And it begs the question, are you as public servants actually acting in the best interest of your constituents? It sounds like a more peer pressure thing to go along with, because it's easier to say that you've done something than the harder thing, namely addressing the actual problem with laws that we've had in place for a long time. So before you go through with this, because I know you're going to, I just ask that you increase the pet limit from 4 to 6 to better reflect a more honest display of pet ownership in North Glen. And although you may have intended to promote responsible pet ownership, or maybe even to limit a nuisance within the neighborhood, you're only promoting pet abandonment and exclusivity. And that's where I'm concerned with the lack of empathy you're showing for the avid pet lovers of our city. You preach inclusivity, so please increase the pet limit to include more households so they don't have to live with that sense of fear or feeling excluded. Don't ostracize responsible pet owners. Please amend the wording and increase the pet limit to at least 6 per household. You have a moral obligation to critical thinking. Everyone else is doing it is a very dangerous and naive reason for implementing something that can restrict the rights and freedoms of responsible pet owners. Please represent the pet owners, the avid pet owners in this community. Please advocate for us and don't dictate our personal preferences regarding how many animals we're going to love as family members, because our dogs and our cats are not just some number to us, they are our family. And then the last thing I thought of was, if you guys want to pass this ordinance the way that it reads, you guys are knowingly making someone's beloved cat or dog illegal, and you shouldn't be so quick to make someone's cat or dog, that extra cat or dog, illegal, especially since families have had their fur babies for years before this ridiculous ordinance appeared. So before you vote yes to this pet limit law, please also speak to those that will be outside the boundary of the law, even though it's city law. Will there be a grandfather clause to protect pre-existing pets, so there isn't this undercurrent of fear? Because that is a real thing. I've already spoken to other neighbors. It's not just me. So please just don't pass this ordinance, but if you do, consider increasing the pet limit from 4 to at least 6 to better represent a lot of neighbors in my ward and other wards. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Zach Udis. I'm on Downing Drive as well. Hello, I'm here to echo that I would also not want a limit on the number of pets. My assumption is that there is not data to back up the notion that restricting the number of pets has any direct effect on which owners will address their dog's behavior and maintain hygiene. But I would hope that my representatives have found significant and overwhelming evidence that this ordinance somehow improves dogs barking unchecked and owners not picking up after their dogs. If there's not overwhelming evidence, I'd urge you to implement an ordinance that will end up restricting responsible pet owners without clear link, in my mind, to mitigate problem owners. These should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis through existing noise and hygiene ordinances that address these issues directly. Thank you.
Oops, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Good evening. Please state your name and provide your comments to council.
Hi there, my name is JC Fisher. I'm on East 112th Place. So yeah, I just wanted to speak regarding this limit as well. With the current economic situation that a lot of people are facing right now, more people are having to find themselves moving in with family members, friends, living in multifamily households, and it is really easy to find yourself over the limit. I know I personally have multiple people in my life that have themselves in that situation. My mother-in-law is one of them, and it is something that we don't want to have to choose between our family members, our pets, versus following the laws that we have here. I know all of us in this room, want to respect the ordinances that you put in place, but we also want to protect our family members and our pets. So I also want to echo that, if you do pass this ordinance, to at least think about raising that limit to at least 6 to make sure that those multifamily homes are covered.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Good evening. Please provide your name and address and your comments to council.
My name is Noelle Eveland. I'm at 1000 East 112th Place. I am here tonight to oppose the proposed pet limit law. While I only have one dog of my own, different neighbors around me own 5 to 6 dogs that don't cause any issues. So I don't think North Glen should limit the number of cats and dogs to 4. There should be no limit if they are cared for. If nothing else, I request City Council to increase the pet limit from 4 to at least 6. Many people have absolutely no problem taking care of several animals. Please don't pass this, and if you do, I request that North Glen City Council revises the wording and increase the limit from 4 to 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to provide comment for or against? Is there anyone on the phone who would like to speak about CB 2026? You can unmute by pressing *6 at this time. Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Moving on to ordinances on second reading, CB 2026, limiting the number of household pets. Is there a motion to approve on second reading?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Police Chief Jim May is here with a summary for this item. Good evening.
Mayor, Council, good evening. Thank you so much. This is the second reading of the pet limit ordinance. If you go to your memo, it did change a little bit. I just want to let those in the room know that, we did hear you on some of the things. So again, and it's really important we understand. So I just want to read some of the things that we are proposing that council considers along with the passage of this ordinance. The new limitations may affect residents who currently own more pets than allowed under this proposed ordinance. The city values responsible pet ownership and recognizes the emotional bonds between residents and their animals. To ensure a compassionate approach to the transition, those who currently exceed the new limit will be granted a previously owned exception, allowing them to keep their existing pets. This previously owned pet exemption honors previous allowances while maintaining the ordinance intent. In order to be eligible for an exception, residents must disclose that they currently exceed the pet limit, that provide the following information of the dog or cat by submitting a form to the city: pet's name, age, sex, breed, the date they acquired the pet. This submission, so I'm also requesting that we don't enforce this new ordinance, if passed, until August 1st, 2025, where we will make sure we do a huge communication and outreach program. Outlined in this memo is some of the things that we're going to do to make sure our community is well informed of those limits. And again, these limits are consistent with all the jurisdictions around us, but also gives us a tool, the new judge a tool for those extreme cases that we are seeing that, where they don't have any other recourse but the removal of an animal that's over that limit. So with that, I think that's all I have in regards to the ordinance.
Comments or questions from council? Councilmember Goff?
Right, I can't find my little button. So I just want to clarify, I think I understand this, but I do want to clarify that if someone gets this exemption, that doesn't override like our current things about nuisance or abuse of animals and all that kind of stuff.
So say so they have an exemption, they have 6 animals, right? So if they're, and a lot of this is going to be complaint driven. So we respond to an address on a complaint. It could be barking dog, it could be smell, it could be, and if we go over there, until August, we'll just give a warning and then remind them saying, hey, register your pets. And hopefully they take care of the problem right away. But most cases, just like they said, they're, good pet owners and they'll maintain and take care of their animals and, that they have, and that's the ones that I get that we really don't want to impact. That's what's like, but when these animals pass, we want to get back to that 4 animal, rule, so.
Well, I guess I just want to clarify that, and I'm sure most people, I've been a pet owner and had many pets at once, that kind of thing. But if I were to get that exemption, and there were complaints about me not taking care of for safety reasons or whatever, the exemption doesn't override our current ordinance, and I think
Councilmember Goff, the answer to your question is yes. They are still subject to all the other regulations in the city of North Glen.
Okay, so I just want to make everybody aware of that. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who spoke, and thank you, Chief, for being here. Can you tell me a little bit how kind of enforcement of this would look like?
Yeah, so.
Like, give me kind of a scenario, maybe.
Well, just use the resident complaints that complained to council already, right? Smell, right? We have this ordinance of smell. Barking dogs all the time, they'll stop for a little bit, but we keep responding over there. The dogs are, unkept, and all that stuff. So, and there are ordinances to do that, but what does the impact, right? It increases the, percentage of those violations that will happen. So most of it's going to be complaint driven, and that's how we're going to enforce it. If we walk it, or another one, if an officer walks into a place and sees that these animals aren't maintained or well taken care of, they can also take an action then too. And then the actual one that removes the pets, it gets written into the courts, and then the judge gives, that's up to them to what they do and use on that tool. If it's a repeating offender, on how they handle that situation up to the removal of a pet.
Okay, with the removal piece, say someone has 4 pets and for whatever reason they get another 2. With the removal piece, how do you decide which, do you remove all the pets? Do you remove the 2 new ones? Do you remove?
That's up to the owner of the pet, or the owner of those pets. It's not up to us, so.
Okay, and when we say remove, where would the pets go?
That's they can adopt them out, they can take them to the shelter, other things that they can do.
Okay, and I know I talked to you a little bit about this, but I have an ADU on my property, so how would that look for someone who might have kind of another residence or ADU type living situation?
So how I read it, and Corey can correct me if I'm wrong, so if it comes, so I believe that if it's an individual residence that has an ADU, that's still one address. So this ordinance would still be in effect for that one address. It would be individual addresses where this ordinance will do the restrictions where they can have animals.
Okay, and lastly, so people from time to time may foster animals, which I know we have kind of a carve out for, if the dog gives birth to it and has a litter of puppies, I think there's about 6 months there. Is there any kind of carve outs or anything for foster animals? And if not, is that something we should consider, people who foster? And Corey, do you want to?
I don't know how you would enforce that. practically speaking, to say that you have a limit of a total of 4 pets unless you're fostering a pet. That means that over that time, you're going to have more than 4. So I don't know how realistically you would enforce having a carve out for anything. A pet's a pet in terms of a household pet.
If people foster, do they have to have, and I don't necessarily expect you to know this, but if people foster, do they have to have some type of documentation that they're fostering, or?
I suspect it's going to depend on the organization that they are fostering for.
Okay, so there might be some organizations that foster and would give you documentation, in which case should we not consider that? Okay.
Councilmember Burns?
That's all my questions, so I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for a point of clarity, for me, so if you currently have more than 4 pets, you can ask for the exemption. If you want another pet after August, can you ask for an exemption?
No.
Okay, thank you.
And that would be, I say that the only exception would be if there is something under the Federal Fair Housing Act, if there was some issue related to one's coverage under the ADA or the Fair Housing Act, we might look at it differently, but under the plain language of the ordinance, there is no exemption from the 4 household pet minimum. You would have to have more than 4 prior to August 1st. Those are the ones that are exempted. Yeah, correct.
now,
But
okay.
it is, the ordinance's effective date, and you have to have the information in before August 1st. The effective date is in about 2 weeks if this is approved tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Kondo?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Largely questions for Corey, our city attorney. Just kind of sitting here looking through Chapter 9, Article 13 on noise. Are there provisions for anything that has to do with excessive barking? I didn't see anything, just skimming through that briefly.
There are provisions in our code related to noise emanating from animals, yes, but that is in addition to these provisions related to the number of household pets.
Gotcha. I'm just kind of exploring what we heard from the public comment about already existing ordinances to deal with this issue. And then on Chapter 9, Article 17, that has to do with hygiene. Anything related to not picking poop up or whatever else is undesirable effect of having so many animals.
Smell, sound are all bases for a public nuisance. And as Councilmember Goff asked, those provisions apply whether you have 1 animal or more than 4.
Okay. Now, a couple of the people that provided their commentary earlier said they'd like to change the limit to read at least 6 animals per residence. That to me sounds like a floor, not a ceiling. Is that how you interpret that?
I think they were asking for a higher number. The number of pets that's subject to this ordinance is entirely a policy decision.
Okay. And then my last question has to do with one of the speakers talking about multiple families coming into a housing unit. I would assume it's very similar to the scenario that Councilmember Nowicki talked about with ADUs. Even if multiple families come in together, it's still going to count to 4 for that particular address, correct? Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That was my question that Councilmember Kondo just asked about the multifamily member. I got no other questions.
Okay. A couple things I wanted to address is the reason that this came about. And I heard phrases like just because and peer pressure, and I want people to understand that when I could tell from the packet that it might look like, we have this big list of cities and what they're doing. We ask staff frequently for lists like this for all sorts of things, whether it's tax rates, any variety of things, because we want to be, we are on 3 sides surrounded by Thornton. And so it's a neighborly thing to do. We do a lot of regional things. but it definitely is not a peer pressure thing. Nor is it just because we've been having this conversation for over a year now. So I had a couple of wonderings. One is, as with all of our code, there's always a risk of neighbors kind of weaponizing the code, right? So it doesn't have to be a nuisance that starts the conversation. It could be a grumpy neighbor, and that's often what, you know, our police department steps in the middle of, unfortunately. That's something that I'm concerned about, is making sure that this doesn't become that. I was very happy to see the adjustments that were made that sort of grandfathered in and allowed people who are current residents, along with the whole communications plan, so thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense. My last concern is the multi-generational family situation that was raised, and it was raised by a couple council members as well. And so I'm wondering if there is a place for that, because in our economy, that is a significant thing. If there was a way to show that hardship required a multi-generational experience that, say, bumped it from 4 to 5.
I'm going to suggest if there is concerns about the number of household pets related to who is in a given house from an enforcement perspective, you should just have a higher number.
Okay. Because there's no way to prove.
It is much like proving how many people live in a house from a building code perspective. It is from an enforcement perspective nearly impossible. And so trying to figure out who is related to who from an enforcement perspective to give people an entitlement to more animals. And frankly, in a multi-generational housing, that changes frequently, often. So if there is concern related to numbers, then I would encourage you to increase the number rather than try to figure out a way to carve out.
Okay. No, I appreciate that clarification. And I think the other thing that I know to be true, for a couple of reasons, is that when a complaint comes through, so if it is a neighbor's weaponizing, sometimes it doesn't go past the first complaint because they want to stay anonymous. So people who treat their neighbors that way often don't like to be identified. So then that second one that becomes an actual, what you would call maybe a summons or a citation, sometimes doesn't go through. At least that's what I have seen, that the anonymous complaint happens and you get a warning letter, but then the follow through, they have to put their name on it, right, as a victim?
Correct. If there's someone that makes a complaint there, we're not observing any of that, right? Yes, we have to have a complaint, a sign saying, yeah, I observed this behavior, this many animals, and then it goes before the judge. If the officers go out there and the individuals are compliant, everything else will be documented, welfare, the condition of the house, the condition of, all that stuff will be documented as well for the courts if they are issued a summons for, excessive pets. And then the courts determine the consequence of that.
And I apologize if I missed this. I appreciated all of Councilmember Nowicki's questions. With relating to if there's a violation and they need to remove a pet, what is the timeline? Is it like a hand me one right now, or what is the timeline for that?
Judge.
If someone were prosecuted under this ordinance for having too many pets, I would imagine, based on what has happened in other courts, a judge would say you need to come into compliance by X date.
Got it.
And then there is what's called a return date to assure compliance.
Got it. Thank you. Those are my questions for now. Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just, again, looking at the chart in our packet, and I was wondering, Aurora has, say, a limit on dogs at 3, cats on 5, and then maximum 5 combined. So I'm not trying to be discriminatory against dogs or cats, but the way that I'm reading it is it seems like it's allowing a little bit more cats. City Attorney, is that the way I should interpret that?
there is still a combined total of 5. So you should interpret it how you deem appropriate. They have different numbers than are proposed here. Again, it's council's discretion.
Yeah, I'm just offering that as a conversation to figure out where is a compromise here, or maybe there is not, but.
Councilmember Goff?
Thank you. So my understanding is that the police department has come to us with a good compromise in terms of grandfathering in current owners. And I totally get everything I've heard about, the financial situation that people find themselves in. We all do, actually, with housing and everything else. But I think this is a sufficient law to deal with the health and safety of not only all of our residents in North Glen, but also all of our pets in North Glen. So I think that what we see before us is acceptable.
Thank you. Any further comment? Thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CB 2026 on second reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. Ordinances on first reading. CB 2027. Will the clerk please read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 11 of the North Glen Municipal Code, the Unified Development Ordinance.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, Planning Manager Becky Smith will provide a summary of this item. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. This is the first reading on CB 2027 regarding amendments to Chapter 11, the Unified Development Ordinance. This is the 8th round of modifications staff is bringing forward since the code was adopted in 2019. There are various reasons for these modifications being proposed, ranging from regulations due to state legislation that were recently passed, as well as staff recommended modifications based on implementation of the code. Staff presented the proposed modifications at the March 3rd study session and is recommending approval of CB 2027 on first read.
Any discussion on this item? All right, thank you very much. Please open the vote.
Thank you.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CB 2027 passes.
Resolution CR 20. Will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution authorizing the submission of the National Wildlife Federation Mayor's Monarch Pledge on behalf of the City of North Glen, Colorado.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture, Amanda Peterson, will provide a summary of the item.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item, or this resolution, would authorize staff to submit the National Wildlife Federation's Monarch Pledge on behalf of the Mayor and City Council. Pledges are accepted between January and March of each year, and this item would be in support of item 5.3 in the strategic plan, which is the development of a Monarch Flyway. As a part of this pledge, we have identified 8 action items within the pledge that we think are achievable throughout the year, and we would take action to achieve those as we move forward if this is approved tonight. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. I also have our Parks Manager, Willis Waterhouse, as well as our Park Ranger, Karen Keeney, here this evening if there are any questions for them.
Any questions? I don't have a question. I just have a thank you. I really enjoyed the packet and the resolution, and I appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
We'll close that vote, and CR 20 passes unanimously.
CR 23, will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution approving Addendum Number 1 to the Professional Services Agreement between the City of North Glen and Leonard Rice Consulting Engineers Incorporated for aquifer storage and recovery pilot project consulting services.
Move for approval.
Second.
Director of Public Works, Sarah Borgers, is here to provide a summary. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm here tonight to talk about our ASR project. This is a project, Aquifer Storage and Recovery. I need to not use my acronyms so much, where we are taking Stanley Lake water and putting it down into the aquifer so that we can take that water back out. This helps us diversify our water supply, makes us more resilient to drought. Through phase 1 of this project, we did run into some additional work that needed to be done, and so this resolution is requesting additional dollars for Leonard Rice, LRE, for additional engineering services.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, we're good. Thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I will close that vote, and CR 23 passes unanimously.
CR 24, will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution appointing Brian Bowen as the municipal judge of the City of North Glen, Colorado.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, City Attorney Corey Hoffman will provide a summary.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. The City Council just completed what I would consider to be a very robust process for the selection of its new municipal judge. And the resolution before you tonight would appoint Mr. Bowen as the city's municipal judge and approve his contract. The term is for a 2-year term, and that is purposefully not aligned with a new council. It is essentially overlapping so that the judge's performance is not based on sort of whether he or she is doing council's bidding. The judge is supposed to be an independent position, and so the term reflects that. And Mr. Bowen is here tonight.
Comments or questions from council? Please open the vote.
The vote is open. I will close that vote, and CR 24 passes unanimously.
Before I move on, I would like to welcome Mr. Bowen. You want to come on up to the podium? I agree with City Attorney Hoffman that it was a very thorough and robust process. There might be other council members that have things to add, but I just wanted to tell you it was an absolute pleasure watching you work in our court. My takeaway is that you're very kind, you're firm, you're fair, you have a great sense of humor that really softened the court, but you mean business. And it really felt like it was in line with the culture of North Glen, and I just wanted to welcome you. So thank you so, so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Did anybody else want to add anything? Or I just had to say something before you left.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you so much. CR 25, will the clerk please read the title?
A resolution reinforcing that the City of North Glen and its police department do not enforce federal immigration laws against individuals who have not committed criminal acts.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
City Attorney Corey Hoffman will provide a summary.
Good evening again. This one's a little more nuanced. The law is ever evolving in this area, and so this resolution updates a previous resolution from 2016. What has happened in the meantime, among other things, is that Colorado law has changed, and there was new legislation adopted in 2019 that directs how the city's police department is supposed to interact on federal immigration. There's also federal law that the city is compelled to follow, which is also referenced in this resolution. And so this resolution attempts to navigate that and identify what the city will be doing and how it will be cooperating with federal immigration in certain areas, but not being the primary enforcement arm for purposes of immigration law.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Okay. Oh, Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I think I had asked you about this. What is, and I know I'm not quite sure how to ask it. So the city has a number of kind of grants or federal loans, things like that. What is the likelihood that this could be interpreted as kind of a sanctuary city law and possibly kind of, given kind of the current climate, jeopardize some of the grants or things that we might have?
That is a very appropriate question, and it is drafted very specifically. There is nothing in this ordinance that would, or in this resolution, I'm sorry, that would suggest a basis for any of these sanctuary city type policies. And in fact, in your packet is an Attorney General's memorandum from February 5th that identifies those types of policies. This is not that. And in fact, if you look at the difference between the 2016 resolution and this resolution, I would point you specifically to Section 3, which references the compliance with federal law, which is frankly one of the key tenets of kind of active non-compliance that so-called sanctuary cities utilize. This does not do that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I just had my question answered as well.
So I just feel like I have to say something because I wanted to bring this forward, and I felt like there is some misinformation in the community about what is a sanctuary city and what is not. We've had people stand at the podium and claim that we're one and we're not. This, in my opinion, is designed to say that we're not going to harass our residents, that we're going to follow the law, and we're going to protect our residents the way we always have. But it felt like in an era of misinformation and fear and conflict, that it was important to say, hey, this is who our police department is. This is the work that we do. And I think being afraid of or even asking about federal funding means we're not willing to walk our talk and have integrity. So I think my stance is, even if that was the case, doing the right thing takes courage, and I'm proud of us for doing that. So that's my statement. Councilmember Goff.
Sorry, this is really, I'll just say it. I totally agree, and my question, it's really a question. How is this going to be communicated to our residents? Beyond this meeting, I guess.
Chief or DC, would you like to answer that question based on what we talked about?
We have nobody to talk to.
Sure. So, good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. We worked out, so there have been many updates to policy and everything over the last several months to make sure that everything is in compliance with both state, local, and federal laws. We're going to work to push our policy out. We're going to put it on our Facebook page. We're going to put a fax page out so that we can share that. We're going to put it on our homepage so that we can share that information with the community and share our policy as well, right? Because there's recent updates to the policy, so that will come out as well. There's a training piece for our officers internally. There's not much change to our policy, very, very minimal change to our policy. And it really all revolves around language, not around actual enforcement, because there's no point in which the local law enforcement agency enforces immigration laws for the federal government. So we have a communications plan that includes all of our social media sites as well as our own site. We can share that with the city site to include our newest policy and kind of a facts page to make everyone understand how the policy works and how it kind of works within our organization. And, to really facilitate victimization and reporting of crime and how, those type of circumstances don't necessarily intersect with an individual's status within the country or within the community. So we have a plan to share that information, push that information out through all of our media sites, social media sites, and share it with our webpage so that we can inform our community of what our policy is on top of what our practices are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Kondo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do appreciate the comment about taking a stand and having a spine. But I do have a question for our city attorney, and that is, it seems to me that because we don't have a jail, we only have a temporary holding facility. That is really the core piece here that kind of minimizes our risk exposure, I would assume. Is that a good way to think about that?
It certainly minimizes our risk, but it doesn't eliminate it. I mean, the fact is that North Glen does not operate a jail, and so the maximum time anyone would be in our custody for purposes of detention is 6 hours. So it is the Adams County Jail that is the detention facility that may have additional issues related to interactions with the federal authorities, but we hold people for a limited period of time, so that does mitigate our risk in terms of holding someone for federal immigration purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Nowicki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your words. And I do agree. I disagree that we shouldn't ask questions and explore. I think it's important for us to be clear-eyed about, given the current climate, while also being courageous. I just wanted to add that.
Any other discussion? Please open the vote.
The vote is open. I will close the vote, and CR 25 passes unanimously.
Discussion items tonight, the sign license agreement request from the ARC of Adams County. Director of Economic Development, Allison Moding, is here to present. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I'm here tonight to introduce a request from the ARC of Adams County. Since the completion of the NERA redevelopment project at 112th and Washington, which removed signage that faced Washington Street, they have been working to find a solution to help their customers, their clients and their volunteers to find their administrative offices, which are located at 641 East 112th Avenue. There are photos in your packet. And so with some discussions with the planning staff, the simple fact of the matter is that their parcel does not have any place to put a sign that can be seen visibly from Washington, which is the main thoroughfare. And so they did have at one time a discussion and perhaps an agreement with the developers of the former NERA parcel to have some signage on their site. However, that sign was not constructed. There's not space. It's very tight with the parking in the building. Turned out to not be any space, and so they're left with very few options. I did work with their former executive director, Carrie Easterly, and they have consulted with a couple of sign companies to try to determine what their best options were. And the recommendation has been to approach the city to see if a sign licensing agreement that would allow them to use a small piece of the city's fence on the southwest corner of 112th and Washington is something that the council would be willing to contemplate. So we've had a couple of other sign agreements. Those, of course, happened under different development ordinances, and really what we're looking at here is a request for off-site signage, which is not something that is in our UDO. So I've got Jeff Althouse here tonight. He's a board member with the ARC of Adams County, and he's also a local business owner, and I think he would like to say just a few words on behalf of the ARC, how this is impacting their ability to do business. These are their administrative offices. They've also, of course, got the thrift store here in North Glen as well. So if there aren't any questions for me at this point, I think I would invite Jeff to just come up and say a few words, and then we can have some discussions beyond that. So Jeff, would you like to step up?
Thanks, Allison. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Allison. As Allison said, my name's Jeff Althouse. I'm a local estate planning and probate attorney down the street, not far from the ARC, actually. 112th and Huron is where we camp out and call home. I'm also, I teach wills and trusts to law students at the University of Colorado Law School and volunteer, as Allison said, on the board of directors for the ARC, specifically of Adams County. The summary of the issues here today, I think Allison did a great job, but I'm really here today to discuss that signed license agreement request submitted by the ARC to the city of North Glen. We originally had a sign out front of our current building at 112th and Washington that was visible from the intersection from both streets, if you're familiar with 112th and Washington area. From the pictures in that report we submitted, you can kind of see that our building is tucked away behind, not visible at all from the street. So the sign is really kind of our only way for people to know that we're there. The lot in front of our building was recently redeveloped, wherein we at the ARC agreed to have that sign removed to allow for the expansion of the building and parking areas in exchange for our name on their monument sign. During negotiations that I or the ARC were not a part of, that sign was unable to be built. Now, unfortunately, the ARC is left with no signage at all and a location that's not visible from the street, as I mentioned. This has made it nearly impossible for volunteers and those with intellectual and developmental disabilities whom we serve to find our building at all. For those of you that don't know, since 1962, it has been the mission of the ARC of Adams County to protect, preserve, and promote the human and civil rights of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities and actively support their full inclusion and participation in the community. Organization has been in North Glen since around the year 2000, I believe, and in the same building since 2008. My request, and I believe the best conclusion for the city, is to approve our signage request and allow us to put a sign on the fence located at the corner of 112th and Washington as shown in the Economic Development Memorandum 2-2025. My reasoning for this request is pretty simple. First, we're a nonprofit attempting to protect not only Adams County residents, but North Glen residents specifically. Second, we have already seen less services to those who need it due to our lack of not only appropriate signage, but any visible signage at all. These are people who are already underserved and struggling to get help. I'm asking the city to be a partner with our organization as we try to better assist those in need. Third, I want to address the slippery slope argument. As an attorney, I completely understand setting an example and not wanting a slippery slope to occur as mentioned in the staff report. I do not feel as though allowing a nonprofit with no other signage location options would create anything even near to a slippery slope for future signage requests. The purpose of the North Glen United Development Ordinance from the document itself is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the city. Further discussed specifically under the signage section on page 132, 11.410, the intent to prohibit signs exists when the sign size, type, or illumination may negatively affect the environment where the communication can be accomplished by means having a lesser impact. We feel as though we are very open to address all needs the city has regarding the size and impact of the sign. There will be no illumination present. We are bordered by the Excel power station, which is limiting the height of signs and location options for us. Here, council, we have tried all other options, and it seems as though this is our last remaining alternative. Finally, this would serve to protect directly the health, safety, and welfare of the city's own residents by allowing them to be able to locate the organization that unfortunately in many instances is the only one that's fighting for them. Should the city deny this signage, we would humbly request a discussion about alternatives as we are a nonprofit. We're not seeking to market or get our name out there more. or requesting money. We simply have individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities that are trying to find our location. We just want to help them. Thanks. Happy
you.
to answer any questions too.
Okay. Councilmember Nowicki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This might be a question for Director Moding. I think, so under this, the staff are not recommending it because the current UDO prohibits this, correct?
That's correct.
Yet you also mentioned, bless you, you also mentioned on 120th and Claude, there's kind of a sign that's in the right of way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So based on the research I've been able to do, that is a sign located in the city's right of way, and that was permitted probably a couple of decades ago, so under a different development ordinance, under obviously a different council. So
It would be what's referred to as a legal non-conforming use because it was approved under a different unified development ordinance, and so it predates the application of the current rules of the city.
Okay. Does that, and I know it was recently redone. That one was refurbished and does that matter at all? Or is...
It does not. Part of the legal non-conforming uses, there are certain things that trigger it no longer coming into compliance. With signs, you can't really look at the content, the words, with the exception, and there is one exception, of looking at a sign to determine if it is advertising something off-site. And that's what this is about.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Kondo?
I'm going to retract my question.
Councilmember Burns?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I was not on council when sort of all of this went down, and you mentioned that y'all were left out of meetings around what you were promised to sign. Can you just expand upon that a little bit more? Because I would love just like a more clear picture of the history from your perspective.
Sure. I've been on the board for 3 years, so I haven't obviously been around since the beginning. But there were negotiations with our prior executive director, Carrie Easterly, and the Carlsons, or the developers that came in and redid the building that sits right in front of us, right on Washington and 112th. And those negotiations included us basically wanting to partner with the community. I kind of feel a little bad now that I'm in this situation of I kind of convinced the board to partner with the Carlsons, partner with the city to just make the city better. Hey, they're redeveloping this business condo. That's good for the city. That's good for everyone in it. And we had an agreement where we actually brought in legal counsel, not myself, to negotiate a contract where they could take our sign down, expand their parking, expand the building a little bit, and remove our sign under the condition that when they put their monument sign up advertising all their businesses, we would be one of those listed on that sign. And then the negotiations we were not a part of happened between the developers, the Carlsons, and the city, and we had no part in those. And that's where the signage was either, to my knowledge, disallowed, or there wasn't enough space. I'm not 100% sure the conversation that happened there because I wasn't there.
Thank you. That's disappointing to hear. I would just like to offer to my fellow Dias members, I drive past this road every day taking my son to school. I drove past with my family going to Target this weekend, and I was speaking to my husband about it, and he had no idea there was even a building back there. I think it is a safety concern. If people are flipping U's or trying to get back there, trying to find it, I feel like there is an immense problem, and it seems like it might be partially our, I feel like there has been some discussion that they were left out of the table, left out of the conversation, and so I would like to look at to either changing our UDO or finding a way.
So if you direct to try to find a solution, I would suggest that's the appropriate direction, and we can try to find a solution. But I believe that the discussions that he is referring to but there's no one from planning here, so I'm not sure. But I believe the discussion was the monument sign that was contemplated, ultimately, there wasn't room on the property for it. And that was the basis for there being no monument sign. But under United States Supreme Court case law related to signs, the only regulation you can have that regulates content is to determine if it is on-site or off-site. So that's why communities can, for example, prohibit billboards in some circumstances. So this would be actually allowing something that is expressly prohibited. So I can never recommend that you authorize something that is expressly prohibited under our code. Now, having said that, would there be an opportunity to look at some sort of wayfinding for nonprofits or trying to create some sort of exception for this particular circumstance? I don't know. I learned about this last week, but I can't recommend that you allow something that's expressly prohibited. So if you're inclined to grant something, I would say allow us to go to the drawing board and see if there is a way to have a code revision that would have a very limited content-based restriction, perhaps based on it being wayfinding as opposed to true signage.
Thank you, City Attorney Hoffman. Just some sort of solution.
So the memo says, if council wishes to proceed with a license agreement, staff will prepare the agreement and present for approval at a future meeting.
And my recommendation is not to do so.
We see that, but it says if we do, staff will prepare it.
Correct.
Okay, because it says staff doesn't recommend it, but it also, I guess I'm confused.
My job is to give you legal advice. My legal advice is to not do the license agreement. My legal advice would be, if you are inclined to try to find a solution, to have us look to see if there is an alternative way to do this other than drafting a license agreement that explicitly violates the current code.
Interesting. Councilmember Goff?
Thank you, Mayor. So you mentioned wayfinding. So what I'm wondering is that I see the signs on the side of the street that say there's a hospital ahead, or that where the Adams County Emissions Building is. Is that what you're talking about with wayfinding?
It would likely be something akin to that, yes. I don't know without the direction. We'd have to look more carefully, but it would have to be on city property and for some form of wayfinding that was, again, not commercial in nature, essentially.
Okay, and so then kind of as part of that question, if the sign that ARC wanted, I saw the pictures at the end, it's kind of like the logo, which would be easy for volunteers or whoever to recognize. And if we did some kind of way sign, like I'm imagining those blue street signs, it wouldn't have that logo on it. Am I correct? It just would have words?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Again, I learned about this on Thursday.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess maybe if we do say that we want to continue to investigate some kind of solution, I would just, maybe that could be part of it. But we need to consider if it would even be effective if it's not going to have their logo on it.
Councilmember Walker?
Thank you. I just want to say, and if I understand Ms. Burns' position on this, I think we need to look to make sure we've turned over every rock on this. So I support staff going further on this.
Councilmember Kondo?
I echo Councilmember Walker's sentiment. May not approve this recommendation, but definitely want to explore other options.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director Moding, I don't know if it was you or the gentleman that mentioned something about possibly Neura was involved at one point. It was their project. No, I know that. Regarding the sign. That Neura had said that they would also approve a sign. So he mentioned city and planning commission, but I know this was a Neura project. I sit on the Neura board, even though I'm newer, but just going back, I wasn't there at that time.
So it was a NERA project in the sense that NERA did purchase the property,
Yes.
prepared the property, and then conveyed that property to a developer for the demolition and the reconstruction of the building. What's there now, of course, was reviewed by staff under our development ordinance and approved through our normal processes. So the sign was not something that NERA was
I thought I
party
heard
to.
that.
Yeah, no,
That
the
was the
sign itself.
clarification, because I thought I heard that NERA had not promised, but had mentioned that a sign would be a part of that agreement. That's what I understood. That was just the piece that I wanted clarification on. But it sounds like, no, it was through the developer.
No, I wish Rosie would have stayed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was 100% part of that agreement. What I have heard and could not confirm tonight, I could with more research, was that the developers were actually given a grant specifically for that sign. They already received it, and said sign does not exist. So
No, there was, I can confirm there was no grant for signage, so. We did provide, I think NERA did provide grants for,
Right.
and I don't recall off the top of my head what specifically, but it was the, our standard business improvement grants for exterior. It might have gone toward landscaping. So I would have to check on that, but.
That's okay.
I'm certain it was not for
mentioned, so I was
signage,
just
so.
wondering what that was. But I am in agreement that perhaps it's not about a license agreement, but pursuing other options, just because it does seem like this is affecting their business. So would like to see possibly looking into, as was mentioned, turn over every stone and figure out if there's a way to make something happen so they're more visible. Whatever that might look like, that isn't against our current code. Thank you.
So our memo says the owner was willing to provide space on the sign. And then because the parcel was too small, it was later determined that a sign couldn't be there. So I appreciated that NERA redeveloped that corner. It does look nice. But I do remember that conversation, and knowing that the ARC was behind it was concerning. I'm actually so sad that staff came to us with a memo without a solution, because this is a significant problem for a business that, I guess, I don't know. I just feel like we're doing this business a significant disservice, and I feel responsible because it was part of, like, we were a part of the conversation with NERA. It breaks my heart, and I'm really disappointed that the memo came back with sort of this, you can do this, but I don't recommend it, but no solution to support this business. I think a small wayfinding sign is not enough. I think that's a sad thing for an organization that does really good work in our community for our residents. This whole thing just shocks me. So I would love us to dig deep and find a solution that is legal, if that's the problem, that we can change whatever we need to change to support the ARC, because they've been at a disadvantage this whole entire time. So, I mean, if it also includes finding them a new location in our city with incentives to do that, that's, more accessible. I don't know, but I think we need something better than this. And I think you've heard that from multiple council members, so thank you.
No, and I appreciate it, and I would like to say there has been a lot of back and forth between, the planning department within our current sign ordinance, and this is, I think, truly an unusual situation that, we've spent a lot of time talking about it, so.
Yeah. Okay, that's all for tonight.
All right, well, that's the discussion, and I do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Public invited to be heard. This is an opportunity for public comment. Statements are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments must be related to an item previously addressed by council during the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to council at this time? No. Okay, there being no further business, we are adjourned.